Hello, everyone. My name is Kaiten Kroboth, and today we're going to be talking about how technology impacts child and speech development. There are several negatives and positives we can look at for this topic, but overall, technology has been very detrimental to speech and language development of children. Because of the evolution of technology and how much we're starting to integrate it into educational settings, social settings, and everyday life, um, there's so much more addiction and reliance on technology. So we're going to look over a few ways of how it impacts these children directly, and especially their speech and language development. So there's many ways that it can be effective. In the COVID era, we Zoom became very popular and has now continued to make its mark on remote learning when there's no access to in-person learning. We also see computers and iPads in every age category group of learning, taking notes, taking tests. It has been a very significant change in how much we use technology in the classroom. While there can be effective and very positive impacts of this, there can also be very detrimental. Negative social changes, less social communication and increased social anxiety, and less communication ability that can impact those in the workforce. So there can be very detrimental impacts of these technologies. So today we're going to be looking at how does screen time affect the development of young children. So how their speech and language is affected because of their addiction to their digital tools. Are they are there benefits to using technology for education and communication purposes? And what do professionals and educators, such as teachers and clinicians, think about how tech is being used in child development? So, negative effects, reduced emotional intelligence, social bonding. We'll talk about this a little later. But kids are less likely to be able to express their emotional feelings because they are so locked behind a screen and don't have that in person ability. So, they are not as good as expressing their emotional um, well being, and they're less likely to be able to talk to each other, even those of their own age group. Can hurt attention control. We see this even today with our own age. It's hard to pay attention for longer periods of time because we are so used to being on a computer or watching short term videos. So that can be a big, major issue. Less human interaction and slower speech development. It is known that 5 to 7 is the age range where kids are most what they learn is most impactful for their speech and language development, and so increased screen time can really, really, really impact these ages' speech development. And of course, this is when kids are starting to become more aware of technology and have more reliance on it. And lastly, like I was saying, um, kids that grow up with more technology are less likely to have communication skills in the professional settings. So, in order to be able to do this, to change this, we need to integrate more collaboration, digital fluency, and creativity in order for kids to be able to have better communication, problem solving, and adaptability in the workforce. So while there are a lot of negatives, there also can be some positives. Remote Zoom therapy, like I was talking about, it is a super effective way to do in-person learning when those do not have access to it. This can also include people like kids in rural areas that do not have access to therapy. It is proven that um, telehealth can help lower anxiety and again can help those that are in rural areas get access to help, and can ultimately, while it can reduce anxiety, it can also help with speech and language with those who struggle. Another is interactive TV benefits. We all know shows like Dora, Doc McStuffins, Sesame Street. Being able to interact with those TV shows um, can help kids pronounce words, learn words that they should know at their age, not too complicated or not too simple. Can be super helpful for the pronunciation and language development. Lastly, improved engagement. Kids are more likely to want to be on technology now, so it's with better education within the technology, there's improved engagement and more access to resources that can help with instant feedback, diverse content, and practice opportunities among those learning. What do professionals think? Clinicians at first were very unsure about technology among children, and probably still are, but there's no way to really go around it. So they have to be more open to it. Teachers, on the other hand, have a very split um, opinion. Teachers obviously can agree that it can be super helpful and will never go away at this point, but it has showed increased rates of bullying, changes in behavior, social anxiety, and short-term attention span, which can be all very frustrating for those of a teacher who are trying to teach these kids. And ultimately, speech um, is just becoming more of a problem and harder to learn, and then ultimately harder to teach. So, when making the most of technology, we want to make sure the teachers are properly equipped. They have the right teacher training, and they know how to use standardized tech practices, and able to really implement them in the right way. They're able to implement them slowly and thoughtfully, not using them too much, not using them too little, but being able to effectively integrate the digital tools. Making the learning environments interactive, not only on the computer and not only in person, but doing both and including both. Um, Making sure there's consequences for bad behavior. That is one of the things that the teachers are most um, see the most impact of. Being able to deal with that bad behavior and consequences of technology, being able to shut it down. And lastly, catering to all students. This technology will not work for all students, will not help speech and language in all students. So being able to really focus and being able to show data on what works and what doesn't work for which students and how we can ultimately fix that. In the end, the future is in our hands. Technology is not going to go away. Um, and it will be a vital part in the future of our kids learning speech and development. And ultimately, we want to see how we can fix it.